Association to order for February 8th, 2021. Starting with the first item on the agenda, Madam Secretary, if you wouldn't mind doing the roll call.
Yep, of course. So Dylan?
Here.
Carolyn?
Here.
Harrison's here. Will? Is he coming soon? Please. I'm just going to make it empty for now. Adele?
Here.
Akwe?
Here.
Aziza?
Here.
Sorry. Brendan? Christine? Christine? David?
Here.
Yvette?
Here.
Jordan?
Here.
Kate?
Here.
Miriam?
Here.
Mira?
Here.
Naveen? Is Naveen here? Robert?
Here.
Socket? Sateva? Sebastian? Sweta?
Here.
Tumvi?
Here. Also, Sebastian requested to be absent today.
Thank you. Tona Zit?
Here.
Zara? Okay, thank you, Harrison. Brianna?
Here.
Camila? Ricky?
Here.
Sarah? I know she's here.
Here.
Riddhi? Okay, if anyone is here and didn't hear me call on them, you guys can just text in the chat. That's it for roll call.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. And Christine, yes, I believe your name was called. Christine's present. She just messaged in chat. I just got Sebastian's request as well. Fantastic. So moving on to the next item in the agenda, as people trickle in, please just announce yourselves in the chat. If there's no objection, we will be approving the minutes from the last meeting. That would be from February 1st, 2021. Okay, hearing no objection, the minutes from the last SGA General Body meeting have been approved. Moving on to the Executive Board reports. I'm sure you're tired of hearing it by now, but we have the Legacy Google Drive. I still need to work with the speaker to implement the new resolution and bill format since Rutgers RUSA and Rutgers SGA from Camden have shown me that our resolution and bills do not have sufficient pizzazz. So I've changed those slightly, and hopefully we can update and post the most recent legislation. As always, the SGA Emergency Fund is still open. It's titled as the COVID-19 Appeal Form. It's on the Rutgers Newark form portal at forms.newark.rutgers.edu. I'm putting that into the chat. Presidents, if you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, okay, so real quick, right, it's just this one form, right? It's just one form for every funding source. So they've got everything in here, right? So it's not just like Can I just only apply to the SGA fund? Like, no, it doesn't work like that, right? So they have the renewed CARES Act funding in there. They have like federal HRSA funding. They have other federal funding, state funding, chancellor's office, our money, other, right? It's all that one form. And current status, it does not matter if you received money before. You're fine. It's clean slate again for this semester. There's just like a cap of like $1,500 that they don't want to exceed for one student, unless of course like your house literally burned down or something like that.
Thank you, President. So if we can maybe clarify that on like our story or something like that, we're in the minutes. The COVID-19 appeal form is for all financial aid, all institutional financial aid from Rutgers, it seems. So beyond filling the FAFSA, all students should definitely fill that out. And the cap is for the spring semester only, and can be, negotiated depending on the student situation. Does that sound about right, President?
Yep. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So if you'd want to speak about the state of the campus address, thank you to our speaker and everyone who helped set that up as well.
Yeah, I mean, so really now it's just a matter of just sharing it more. I mean, I figured like out of the total of students that will see it, more will see it after the fact, right? So, I mean, now we have those timestamps. Again, they're just going to be very helpful with that. Because like if you send a student a link or here's a link to a 40-minute video, it's like, no, I'm not going to watch that. So they can see like exactly what is talked, like what is discussed in the video, and then maybe click to it. So I'll just ask a few orgs like, hey, mention your general body meeting, spread it around. The timestamp should be helpful.
Yes, thank you very much to our media committee, our new media center, for setting that up, as well as always, our fantastic Senator Borte. Anyone else who spoke, contributed information, or helped with that address. First one in 6 years, congrats. Dean Williams, I know it's a little bit untraditional, but if Dean Williams is present and would like to clarify the leadership stipends a little bit more.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Happy Monday. So I was asked to provide some clarification about the leadership stipend because I think there was some confusion or basically just some questions about what it is and why we have it and how does it work. So just briefly, a little bit of context. So every year the student government has essentially been granted like a small, we don't call it a stipend, it's really an award, right? And it's not just student government, it's not just you all, it's the program board, it is IFSC, executive board, it is also the media council. And so it's really kind of across the board. And it started off as an initiative within the Office of the Vice Chancellor, of Student Affairs, Dr. Corliss Thomas, who basically was responding to the needs of, at the time, student leaders who, basically said, like, we should get a leadership stipend. And so we don't advertise it. It's not something that we would typically promote simply because as you all are dedicating your time, we don't want to make it seem like this is something that, you got to get paid for this in exchange. Like, you all are servants in terms of the campus, right? When I say servants, I mean like public servants. You all do this for the students. You do this for the community. And so in a lot of ways, it has always been kind of that is leading why students have joined these executive boards on these councils. And Harrison pointed out the elections committee as well. That being said, it was recognized the amount of work that students were doing. And so hence the development of the leadership award. So I know sometimes students got the award on their term bill and they're like, where is this? I don't even know where that came from. So that's where it comes from. That being the case, I think in the past couple of years, there's been a lot of ambiguity about what warrants someone to be awarded And there has been a lot of informality in the past, and that's been a challenge because although I would say you all are absolutely terrific, everybody does a great job on this, association. I'm really impressed with your work. That hasn't necessarily always been the case for all leaders. And so then there was a lot of conflict and conversations about why some people are getting the same thing and haven't really put in any work. And so that's when the formality came around the leadership, the work plans, and it's something that actually was proposed by me and by the Vice Chancellor so that we can just have some level of accountability when it does come to these awards. And it's not just for student government, it's across the board. So the idea is that each officer would have a goal. Typically, it would be related to your role in terms of what the Constitution outlines, and you would work over the course of the semester to achieve that goal. Now, what I will say is that the expectation is not that you all, check off the box and say, hey, I achieved the goal, because the reality is there are a lot of barriers that come up, institutional barriers, personal barriers. The idea is that you're working, like you're making progress. And so that's the whole point. It's just to say, hey, this person has demonstrated progress in their role. They've shown up, they've done their job. And so it's not something, so I would say if you all want to take this away, the default is that everybody gets an award. That's the default. The only time someone's not being granted it is if they just went MIA. And there have been, unfortunately, times where someone just stopped showing up. And so that's kind of just the way that we're accounting for it. So the role that I've asked for, based on what is outlined in the Constitution, the role that I've asked the Chief of Staff and the Speaker of the Senate to do is just really engage with the Senate. I have a lot of time to work with the Executive Board and the Senate and the Speaker of the Senate, as well as the Judicial Council, but I don't have that with the senators. And so I cannot personally evaluate the work of every single senator, which is why I was hoping that Harrison and Tom B could be a bridge to me being able to make decisions about the awards. So what they're going to do is basically engage with senators, and then they're going to provide feedback to me. I'm going to ask maybe a few questions. If I need clarification, I will reach out to individuals and then essentially grant the award. And like I said, everyone's doing a great job, so I have no doubt that everybody will receive the award. But of course, if there are any questions or concerns or even just general feedback, please let me know. I will be very transparent in saying this is the first year that we're piloting it in this way. And it really emerged this semester because fall semester was the first semester that we were really remote learning in the way that we were. And so I think it was a large ask to really implement something like this. But that being said, we're just going to try our best. What I would really love from you all is just feedback on the process. How can we improve it in the future? And that way, when we have the fall semester next year, we can launch something a little bit more concrete and tried and true. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I don't know if I should say point of information, but given that I spoke about this last time, thank you so much, Dean Williams, for speaking about it and clarifying it. I think one of the biggest goals that we are all trying to accomplish is transparency, and transparency within each other, within different branches, but also, and more importantly, transparency between us and the student body. And that's one of the biggest things that we've all been preaching and fighting for, I guess, for all of our years on the Senate and however long that's been. And so last meeting I did discuss, you talked about all the points all of the questions that I had asked. So again, thank you for that. And hopefully we can, as a Senate, discuss this during our Senate caucus and bring it back to our speaker so she can relay the concerns that we have and if there are any, and people might not feel comfortable right now. So as of right now, I do think that it is a more transparent and more comprehensible way of doing this than it was done in the past. Like you said, it ended up on term bills where students didn't know, and I definitely didn't know about it, so I will say that. So I do appreciate that, and I personally will let you know if I have any questions or any concerns coming up. So thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you all so much. And thank you, Sarah, for raising those questions. I think they're important because it wasn't clarified, and I take accountability for that. That being said, if you haven't already turned in your work plan, it's not too late. Please do so, because in the absence of a work plan, I don't have anything to evaluate, and so sooner rather than later would be preferred. And if you haven't had a meeting, I did offer one-on-one meetings to talk through each plan. I'm still happy to do so. So just let me know, and we can schedule something.
Point of information. Is it okay if we update the work plan just because we have something to add that's really important? If so.
Absolutely. These are living, breathing documents. And I also think something that's important to know is that don't feel that you have to have this, elaborate idea. It can be something really simple, right? It could be something. So, that's why I wanted to do the one-on-one conversations. So I think the plans evolve, they can be amended. I think it's all about just communication with each other, communication with your co-senator. And as long as you're, being transparent in your own work and making sure that you're moving toward whatever progress looks like for you, then I think that that's all we're asking for, or all that I'm asking for. And at the end of the day, I will say one thing. It's not just about the leadership award. And that's why I don't want to stress that. It is truly about your own development as a person, right? One day, if not already, you're going to go into a workplace and there's going to be a performance appraisal, and there's going to be feedback that's offered about your work. And so this is a way that I also want you all as students to prepare yourselves for your career, post Rutgers Newark. So hopefully you see it also as something that can be helpful for you.
Thank you.
Doesn't seem like there are further questions, but Dean Williams is always available. Thank you so much for answering all of our questions and clarifying that. I will say, I take a little bit of responsibility since, this year I've really tried to figure out my role as well. And I am sorry that we did not start, sort of the development, right, and the mentorship and everything like that earlier in fall semester. It's a little bit odd to start in spring. It's a little bit odd to start in the middle of the pandemic. But hopefully by working together, with the speaker and with all of you guys, we can formalize this process a little bit more. You guys all know how much I love those. And we can set it up so that come next fall, the incoming senators and elected representatives will be able to move forward with something that's completely transparent and accountable and, helps all of them develop as well. Senator Shoba, did you...
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
One thing I do that you just said that kind of reminded me of something. Although we are in a pandemic and although we are virtual and, we don't see each other, and that is such a big loss. But I do think that this is the fact that the SMART Goals plan is a living document, and it's not because of all of the obstacles that students are faced with and student leaders through this the world that we are in right now. I do think that this is a time for us to start perfecting this process and laying the foundations of this. So whenever we are in person, students can kind of go back to the legacies and go back to the senators that they are, taking their positions. They know what was done and what kind of foundations and fundamentals were in place for these positions and what exactly how to resume. So that's one thing that I think students will appreciate in the future. So again, thank you for that.
Definitely. Thank you all for your hard work and for understanding and being patient as we're ironing out all the kinks and the many things within our association. And of course, our internal affairs committee is always happy to take on more, right? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you all. There are no further questions. Okay, we're going to be moving on to the remaining of the e-board reports. So the Gates Foundation, and yes, this is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as Google search and some info told me. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is doing longitudinal research into transformative practices on campuses. So they're going to be running some focus groups in the spring. Our executive board, was notified of this. And hopefully we can have students from our campus be represented in that conversation, because obviously Rutgers Newark is a pioneering institution on diversity, as we all like to hear. So unfortunately, just due to the structure of the study, it's going to be just a set date and time. We're not aware of that yet, but we'll have further updates once we get more information. For resources, as I always like to share, Dr. Anise Thomas, of course, is Director of Health and Wellness at Rutgers Newark. The Counseling Center has virtual as well as drop-in. Drop-in does not mean physically. They have drop-in hours every day. I believe it's from 4 to 5. And also today, on Mondays, I believe there's guided meditation from Dr. Vasu Dixit, I believe. There's the WeChat Student Text Helpline, where you can just text and you will be connected with a student or peer advocate. Sanvello is for self-support. You can find it on the My Rutgers portal. But if you'd like some resources, or just want to do something but you're not ready to schedule that appointment yet, that's what it's there for. For the Student Health Center, call the number and you can schedule an appointment virtually. I called recently about health concern and they got back to me within the day. And I talked to Dr. Sandra Samuels, was very helpful. For the surveys, so this is our last general body meeting before this one survey closes, but the RUPD is reforming their mission statement. And this survey is open only until February 12th. For those of you who might not be familiar, I'm learning about this myself with management theory, but the mission statement essentially states how an organization will accomplish or achieve its vision. So obviously this is important for shaping the future sort of rhetoric, right? And the cultural connection with our campus community at large. If you guys have any feedback, I really do encourage you to submit that for the RUPD mission statement survey. And I know we have senators and other community members also serving on the various advising committees that RUPD regularly reaches out to us with. There's also the Diversity Strategic Planning Assessment Survey, which is part of the President Holloway's initiative to make a beloved campus. So he created a new position, the Vice President of Diversity, I believe. And this is part of the longitudinal study that they're doing. And they've released many reports on their website as well. So I really encourage all of you to look at that and fill it out if you do get the chance. Lines of communication. If you're sending an email, always check in and CC the speaker. For finances, using funds, I know the speaker and I, as well as Will, our Chief of Finance, are setting up our availabilities to do meetings with all the senators. For a further meeting or just in general, if you guys want advice on legislation or how something might play out within the meetings, please do contact myself and the speaker. And there's an informal deadline to send by Friday, preferably. We can make it work, but that way just to ensure that all the senators have had a chance to look at it and understand what they'll be voting on. I've attached my email below as well. Next item on the agenda, item D, is committee reports. Are there any reports from committees?
Point of information. Can I? I don't know. I forgot how to do this. It's been so long. No. So as the chair of the Sexual Assault Prevention Committee, we have a meeting coming up. We have a meeting today, actually, with the committee members. And I had recently met with Christy Howley from VPVA, and we are establishing the foundations. I'm personally trying not to make ambitious goals for the committee, just because I know a lot of senators and students have a lot on their plates, and rather than hurting us in the long run, I think it's crucial that we just establish some sort of foundations for future chairs and members. And so we are meeting today to discuss just introductions, introducing the liaisons between the Title IX office and the VPVA office that will be sitting on the committee, and and just plans of the semester and what we are trying to establish in the long-term goals. So hopefully I will have some. I also actually have a meeting with VPVA again this week. We're trying to establish meetings, monthly meetings, and also establishing that with Title IX is a very crucial initiative that we're trying to accomplish. So hopefully we can pick up where we left off last year. There were a lot of initiatives that were happening, but due to the pandemic and going virtual, a lot of it has been put on pause. So hopefully picking up the just the passion again and the energy and the motivation to continue. But I don't want to jinx my plans yet, or the plans of the committee. So hopefully by sometime, knock on wood, sometime by in the future we can talk more about plans and initiatives.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chair.
Can I add an update?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So I'm the chair of the environmental committee, and so I'm also an intern for NJ PERG currently. And I'm going to be working with the campus organizer. I have a meeting I'm going to be scheduling for later this week. And with the environmental committee, I found out recently there's this really cool organization, which is because on campus currently we're literally using single-use plastic, which is very bad, as many of you know. And so there's this cool company that comes in and colleges and restaurants do it. And we're going to be having us come in and use multiple use instead of single use. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Warner. Sorry, I got a little bit overexcited and shared your event, but we'll touch upon that later, I suppose. Gourmet Dining has been a partner in trying to eliminate single-use plastics. I've talked with Brian quite a couple times. He's always happy coming into the meetings. And he's been sending me promotions about the monthly events at PRCC Cafe and whatnot. And we do recognize a lot of students aren't on campus at the moment. And just because of COVID-19, it's a little bit more difficult since things need to be prepackaged to prevent transmission. But that's a really important initiative, and I thank you for your time. Are there any other committee reports?
Permission to speak.
Recognized.
Hello, everyone. Akoy Borte, media senator. So I'm just going to give a very brief update. So as we all very well know, last week, Wednesday, we had the State of the Campus address, and that was very successful. We had our first Instagram live streaming the meeting or the State of the Campus address, and it was very successful. So I'm using this as an opportunity to encourage each and every one of you, executive board members or senators in general, to reach out to the media committee if you plan on having any events or if you'd like to have any discussions with members of the student body. So yeah, that's my update. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Are there any other committee reports? Are there any other committee reports? Okay, hearing none, we'll be moving on to reports of the Senate. So, Senator Warner.
I was having issues.
No worries.
With hearing everyone.
I just gave a brief overview. If you want to speak a bit more about the program.
Yeah, so I actually found it on Instagram, funny enough, and I was thinking of what to do, because for Valentine's Day or something for us to do as